Tuesday, we all set off our fireworks. We celebrate USA, the United States of America. You know, not really. We're the divided states of America. The divide in our country is absolutely incredible. And as I was kind of doing the finishing touches, Thursday's paper, I thought, how relevant. The editorial cartoon, take a look at the editorial cartoon on Thursday's paper. I thought, they put that in there for me. That's going in the sermon. Because we are the divided states of America. And the divide is incredible. This did not begin with the Trump presidency. It was always there, but it seems more pronounced today. We have the rights and the conservative and the lefts and the liberals, and they're both screaming. The conservatives are saying, Obama was the worst president in my lifetime. The liberals are saying, Obama was the best president in my lifetime. The conservatives, Trump has the potential to be the best in my lifetime. He's going to undo 8 years of a mess. The liberals say Trump's an embarrassment. Uncouth tweeting about a beauty pageant's weight. Clearly the worst in my lifetime. Conservatives cry out, Obamacare was a disaster. You can't keep your doctor. Premiums are now through the roof. Poor care we can't pay for. Thanks, Obama. The liberals say Obamacare finally showed the heart of America. Literally, hundreds of millions of Americans now have health care that was denied them in the past. Thanks, Obama. Conservatives say Obama more than tripled the national debt in giveaways. Now it's $18.5 trillion, $222 billion of annual interest. We'll never pay it off. In fact, in the time this worship service starts and finishes, we're hundreds of thousands of dollars behind. Thanks, liberals. Liberals say, yeah, there's a debt, but spent to help lives. So let's beef up the military. Spend multiplied billions of dollars more on missiles, helping nobody. Thanks, conservatives. The liberals say Trump wants to build a wall around our country. Has he forgotten give us your poor, your huddled masses? Has he forgotten we are a nation of immigrants? Ban all Muslims. Surely every Muslim must be a terrorist. Can't we afford to really offend every single nation on earth? Are you conservatives blind to this? The conservatives say, how about if we just have no borders at all? Yes, we're a nation of immigrants, but not illegal immigrants. He didn't stop all Muslim nations, just nations with a history of terrorism. Surely you liberals are not blind to this. Here we are. And it was the year of what's called backwards voting. People didn't vote for a candidate. They voted against one. There were so many millions of people that voted for Donald Trump that never bought into Donald Trump. They just could not vote for Hillary Clinton. Flip it. There were millions of people that voted for Hillary Clinton that didn't buy into Hillary Clinton's message. They just could not vote for Donald Trump. It's called the year of backwards voting. And mixing on all of this, of course, is the media. Media is no longer news. Media is a narrative. And you can find the narrative you want. Our information helps divide the country. The liberals say, if you want real news, Rachel Maddow has her act together. MSNBC is real news. Conservatives say, if you want real news, Fox. Sean Hannity has his act together. That's real news. Liberals say, if you like sarcasm and truth, spend time with Michael Moore. He's creative, he's funny, and it's real truth. Conservatives say, no, if you want sarcasm and real truth, spend time with Rush Limbaugh. Not only creative, but funny and real truth. The Fox on 5. Greg Gutfeld, Jesse Waters. Facts, yet so much fun. Liberals say The View. Who doesn't love Whoopi and Joy Behar? Facts, yet so much fun. At some point, we just, I could go on and on and on. I haven't told you anything you haven't already heard and sensed. The amounts of arguments back and forth, everybody's so absolutely positive that they are right. I just gave you a sample. And into this great divide, a pressure, even hatred, we try to insert the gospel. this huge national separation. And Satan uses it effectively against the gospel. There's someone here that leans a little bit to the left. Thought, you know, Gene, you were more enthusiastic when you gave the right side of the argument. Maybe I should find a church where the pastor has a heart for the downtrodden. Someone here leans a little bit more to the right. They say, you know, Gene, you gave a little bit more enthusiasm when you shared the left side of the argument. Maybe I should find a church where the pastor's got a lick of common sense. Satan uses the cultural war. And there is a cultural war in America. He uses it to attack the church and attack families in the church. He uses the cultural war to damage the church. We've got to be ready for that. You say, oh, Gene, you're blowing it out of proportion. You got to be kidding. I wish I was. I was thinking about it quite a few years ago, and honestly, it was quite a few years ago. We got this packet, and it was voter guides. It said, you know, help the people put voter guides in the foyer. So we put the voter guides in the foyer. Didn't say anything about it, didn't make a big deal. A family came to me that were clearly toward the left side, and they said, those guides are outrageously conservative. I can't be a part of a church where political views are in the foyer. In frustration, they left the church over this. Another family, same election, came to me and said, you're ducking key issues. Having the guides in the foyer is not enough. You need to bring them up on stage. You need to talk about them. You need to bring these facts to the people. I told them I was kind of uncomfortable. I don't want to give the impression that the church or I was endorsing a political candidate. And they, too, in frustration, left the church. They wanted to find a church that cared about the issues. We did too little. You got to leave the church. We did too much. You got to leave the church. Same year, same election. But both families had one thing in common. They both said Jesus told them to go. Which raises a weird question. I can't figure out where Jesus is. I can't figure out what side of the pole he's on. How can he tell both families to go if we're too conservative or appearing to be too conservative or appearing to be too liberal? He tells them both to go. Jesus doesn't know what he's doing. Or else, Jesus didn't tell anybody to go. That's just a trump card we play. Who's going to argue with Jesus? I've lost sight of one of those families, but I was able to kind of keep up with another one. They did go to another church for about 4 or 5 years and then moved on again. Living so spiritually fragile. Satan used the political divide to damage the church. Satan used the political divide that is so clear in America to damage us. Yes! Therefore, we have to guard against it because I fear during the Trump presidency, this divide is going to get larger, not smaller. Therefore, as it gets larger, and Satan uses the divide to attack the church, as it gets larger, he's going to attack the church more. It provides more opportunity for him. And the church is the tribe working together towards a common goal. But now, for really the first time, the church is seen as a potential battleground in the political sphere. Last fall, last election, Trump, Clinton, I got a letter. It was a warning letter that I'd never received in the past. And what blew me away is it was written to me personally. It was not a form letter addressed to pastor of Nazarene Church. It was addressed Reverend Gene Tanner. It was specifically to me. It was from an organization called American Unity of Separation of Church and State. From their director, Barry Lynn. I have no idea who this guy is, who this organization is. I have no idea why I got the letter. Was it sent to every Midwestern church of a certain size? Was it sent to Republican districts? This is a Republican district. Was the same letter sent to Democrat districts? I don't know. All I know is I got the letter to me. And it said this: any politically themed sermons or political endorsement from the pulpit in any fashion, and you will lose your tax-exempt status. This was the first. I'd never been threatened for my content. Preemptively threatened. I had never said anything about the election. I had never had anybody concerned politically for my teaching. I'd never been threatened, especially since I'd never endorsed anybody from the pulpit. Politicians understand church is part of the war, whatever this is going on in our country. And the politicians understand their primary task is to raise money to get votes at all costs. Whether it's hard right, hard left, raise money to get votes at all costs. And the fastest way to raise money to get votes is the American dream. Whether we admit it or not, the American dream is a vital part of who we are and what we become. I looked it up. American dream was a phrase first used in 1931 by the historian James Adams in his book, The Epic of America. He writes, the American dream of a better, richer, happier life for all of its citizens of every rank is the greatest contribution we have made to the welfare and thought of the world. The American dream, raising ourselves up at face value, that's good. It's my dream, my house, my car, my income, my comfort, my living style. I really have earned it all. The American dream, when you strip it all down, is about me. Me. Meet my needs. You want my vote? Give me. Increase me. Well, that's found its way in the church. James Emery Wright, in his wonderful book, Generation Z, writes, now a spiritual narcissism has invaded the church. People leave worship saying, I didn't get anything today. You hear it from church hoppers bouncing from feeding trough to feeding trough. Tell me where that's the mission of the church. We are in an age when individual needs and desires are the center of all attention. We're not making disciples, but caring for them. And in the middle of all this, which is part of our culture, in the middle of all this, Jesus comes along and tells us the exact opposite of what politicians say. In so many ways, Jesus is the exact opposite of the American dream. Not me. Jesus says, take up your cross. Follow Christ. You are now a living sacrifice, dying out to yourself. We see the cross, and it reminds us over and over and over that we are to live in abandonment for the one who sacrificed himself on a Roman cross. The cross becomes the stark reminder of what we are to be. The gospel of Christ and the cross is pinned against the American dream, and the American dream is me. That culture so affected the church that the American religion is the American dream. Pastors get sucked in to preaching the American dream because it's become now the American religion. I was driving in my car real late at night, coming back from a meeting. I could find no good radio. It had no CDs in the car. I know CDs. I'm really old. So, you know how you channel surf on the radio? And I got sucked into a sermon by this really famous guy. His church is huge. His church is literally a stadium. I'd never heard him preach, so I thought, well, check him out. I'm not going to give his name, but I guarantee you would know it. He preached, you can, you will. God is here, and he wants to, and is going to bless you. And just enough Jesus talk to kind of give it a church feel. But he's basically preaching the American dream. He's got huge crowds. Of course he does. He's tapped into the American religion, the dream. All sucking up the good news that it's still about me. Jesus is about me, and the church is about me. The American religion is me. I thought his notes would be great at Kiwanis. But there was never the gospel, the power of discipleship, the power of surrender, the power of lordship, the event of the death of the cross that calls out to me and you to live cross style. During that sermon, I never had this sense of, thus saith the Lord. Our national religion is me. And churches now are finding out to say, how can we take care of me? Not where I can serve, where I can learn more and more about Christ and grasp the power of the cross in my life, anointing my life, abandoning my life for a radical call on my life. Can he transform my life into something powerful, countercultural, radical, purposeful? But we get sucked into the American religion, and that church is me. There's a comedy troupe that I love. I think they're downright hilarious because they're sarcastic. And little tip from Uncle Gene. Of all the kind of comedies sarcasm is by far the hardest because it's got to have truth in it. Try to be sarcastic where there's no truth and it comes across as stupid. It's got to have some element of truth. And these guys are phenomenal. The problem is they're just so funny. But the truth slaps us and it realizes this is where we are as a nation in terms of worship. They did a video on this. I want you to see it. Take a look.
Nick and Molly just moved to the city and can't agree on what they want. They are young and energetic and looking for a new church home. We'll take some personality tests, tour the sites, ask some questions, and based on taste, experience, and location, we'll find them the perfect congregation. I'm Corey Clark, and welcome to Church Hunters.
We're so excited to find a church. We just started dating.
With the churches we go to now, just not, like, for us, just not really doing it for us, you know?
Right. I go to a satellite campus. I just find it hard to connect emotionally with a video screen. It's just...
Okay, you cried during Cake Boss. So, like, we've been doing a lot of services online, a lot of podcasts. There are a lot of preachers we do like.
Really good, but we want serious yet funny.
Yeah, like commanding of the stage yet relatable, you know?
We're more looking for the humor of Andy Stanley with the body of Stephen Furtick.
Hey guys,
What's happening?
I'm Corey.
Good to see you. My name's Nick. This
Hey,
is Molly.
Molly.
Hey guys, welcome to Church Hunters. This is your first church. This is Creekside First Baptist. So while it is traditional, it's still pretty current. Just this year, the pastor started untucking his shirts.
Oh, that's good.
Big deal.
He does dress his age though, so don't worry. He's past the Osteen suit phase, but he hasn't gone full Giglio yet.
Okay, so there's holes in the knees or no?
Well, it's frayed, but no holes.
Afraid? No. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay.
So hey, let me show you around, okay?
All right, let's
Come on.
do it.
I do love this lobby.
It's a great lobby, you know, it's not too big, not too small.
Yeah.
Should be enough room to catch up, chat with your friends.
That's all you need.
But here's a great thing. There's a bunch of side exits, so if you need to leave early and catch the game, you can do that.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh.
Honestly, right up front, didn't love the name.
No, First Baptist? Who names a church that anymore?
Not these days. We're looking for like
No.
a Thrive Church, maybe Relevant Church, I don't know, Radiant Church, something.
This is the soundboard they use here. Now remember, it's pretty traditional here. So when Sunday comes around, they turn it way down low.
Got it. Yeah.
But the one knock on this church, they still use the child care numbering system on the screens.
Ooh, for the
Yeah. Or as the moms like to call it, the sanctuary walk of shame.
Yeah. The Sunday morning experience was just a little too traditional for
us. I mean, the pastor's main point, 157 characters. I can't tweet that.
I really think you guys are going to love this place.
I like
We
it.
do. We like
Feels
it.
great.
Yeah.
You know, it's diverse, but it's not like too diverse, you know?
Scripture heavy sermons?
Oh,
or-
yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What about, is it community oriented?
Absolutely.
Great.
Oh, women in ministry?
The parking situation, you guys got to see it. It's super rare nowadays.
it.
Come with me.
There's like a maybe for when my parents
leave it
come
at a
into
maybe,
town
yeah.
for a church for Christmas, Easter type of church.
Like a holiday type
Holidays.
church.
One of the main reasons that I love this church for you guys is that on your personality test, Molly, you scored high in service and hospitality.
Oh, babe.
And there's a great welcome team you could join.
Okay.
And then Nick, you scored really high in need for accountability.
Wow.
And the men's groups here are amazing.
You're just going to put that out there?
Hey,
just
God
like
knows
that?
your heart, okay? On the next episode of Church Hunters, I think you're really going to love this place. They take relevance to a whole new level. This church identifies as inter-non-denominational. This pastor speaks out of a brand new translation. It's the Tumblr Bible.
I'm sorry, that's funny. A new translation, the Tumblr Bible, the interdenomination. The problem with that is true. That represents a lot of people. Well, churches are like airports now. We fly in, a couple of years, fly out. There's a hard truth there. They're so creative, I roared, but the sarcasm works because it's true. USA has spawned a church dominated by the fragile Christians who are saying this place is really, in the end game, about me. I am spiritually fragile. It's not that way around the world. America's unique. People are huddling in meetings in fear just to hear the word in Muslim countries. People are being executed in Egypt, in prison by their faith. Years ago, Tammy and I had the chance to participate in a worship service in Port-au-Prince, Haiti. Maybe the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. And what shocked me was, in their song service, they sang, "Count your blessings, name them one by one." Now, they're living in tin huts. Not exaggerating, making it worse. Tin huts in the heat of the Caribbean summer. I mean, they're living in sweat boxes. They're living in tin huts, and they're singing, "Count your blessings, name them one by one." They're raising their hands. They're praising God. They're weeping. To me, it seemed like an odd choice of songs. How can they sing, "Count your blessings"? These people ought to go, "Count your blessings." One. How do they do that? Of all songs, they not only sing it, they're being blessed by it. They believe it. The big difference, they haven't got the American dream. They have not bought into the American dream. It's not about them. They're not so fragile followers. Their life in Christ is a passion for Christ. You can't derail these people. There's a radical abandonment to them. You sense the power of them and their worship when you're even with them. Their American dream, it's about me and I'm just waiting to be derailed. Constantly fragile spiritually. Satan has different weapons for different world areas. Satan has different weapons for different cultures. Haiti, it's witchcraft. Here, maybe it's the American dream, which at face value sounds good. But has it become a real weapon for our soul? Fragile, so waiting to be derailed. I'm not trying to be hard. I love the word, Ephesians 4:15, speak the truth in love. In love, I think we got to talk about this stuff. Families will leave a church because of pamphlets in the foyer. Or we didn't talk about the pamphlet enough. Leave because I didn't get used the way I should have gotten used. Leave because somebody didn't say good morning. Never staying to be part of a kingdom, building the local church. The modern culture, the masses of people are shopping for a church, finding that church that comes alongside that says, I will take care of you in every way possible. Satan's hit a home run. It's the American dream. I'm not here to worship Christ. I'm here for me. And I'll get here when I want. American dream has created what theologians call the functional atheist. I shared a little bit about this last week, but it hits me. The functional atheist, they never reject the idea of Christ, but they live their whole life never thinking of him at all. They run through life not rejecting, but they don't spiritually care. They're basically living as an atheist. They're functional atheists. They might even go to church periodically. They're going to make it here on Easter. Of course, remember, all atheism is temporary. I love Romans 14:11. Every knee will bow and every tongue confess that Jesus is Lord. The American dream finding its way in the national average. The national average of regular attendees in a worship service of any faith is 1.8 times a month. Guaranteeing they will miss more than they will make it in worship. And they're deemed the irregular attendee. But Gene, it's Sunday. I golf. I run the beach. It's my day off. We have a huge picnic. That day is about me. This all shapes the world we live in. It's who we are. The church no longer is this dominant influence in shaping lives. Welcome to the culture of America. And there's even been a subtle change in the way America is marketed. If you want to grasp the American culture, listen to commercials because they are really good at figuring us out. Marketing one generation ago was, you earned it, you ought to have it. Whether it's McDonald's or vacation, the marketing phrase is no longer, you've earned it. The marketing phrase overwhelmingly now, listen for it, is, you deserve it. Whether it's a Big Mac or housing or healthcare. Or Comcast is now running this wonderful commercial about you deserve more, Comcast. It's about you. Everything is about you, so why wouldn't worship be about me? Politicians work hard for my me vote. I will get you the American dream. So we hold them accountable. Mr. Trump, Mr. President, you better do what I want. That's the reason I think presidents age so terribly when they're in office. Seeing a picture of Mr. Obama 8 years ago and a photo of him now, it's amazing how this guy has aged. Trump will understand having his feet to the fire. At some level, he better provide the American dream. America says, Trump, meet my needs. There's a great quote. We have to beware. Thomas Jefferson. A government big enough to give you everything you want will be strong enough to take away everything you have. Exit polls. This is shocking to me. Only 34% of the electorate thought Trump possessed a presidential temperament. 66% didn't think he could do it. How did he win? 34% bought into this guy. How did he win? The fact that they didn't buy into him didn't matter. It's about the narrative, and he won the narrative. He successfully sold himself as the incarnation of the American dream. I'm a deal maker. I am a great deal maker. I parlayed a $2 million stake into a multi-billion-dollar enterprise. If I can do that for me, I can make us all great again. The tide will come in. All boats will go up. He won the narrative. America will be great again. That's me. Statistics show all faiths, all churches are in decline in America. Of course they are. This here is not about the American dream. It runs counter to everything else you learn everywhere else. This is about a living sacrifice, which goes against everything you're bombarded with every single day. True discipleship might be costly. You may have to actually push back from the American dream. But come to find out, good news. True discipleship is worth abandoning the American dream. Matthew chapter 13, verses 44 to 46. Jesus is telling a story. The kingdom of heaven is like a treasure hidden in the field. One day a man found the treasure and he hid it back in the field again. He was so happy, he went and sold everything to buy that field. Also, the kingdom of heaven is like a man looking for fine pearls. When he found a very valuable pearl, he went and sold everything he had and bought it. Jesus is telling the same story, using two different kind of metaphors, a pearl and a treasure. The kingdom of heaven is, in fact, priceless, worth more than anything we can imagine. It's fine to lose everything to gain the kingdom. He starts with a hidden treasure in a field. A man finds this treasure, he puts it back. Total abandonment, he buys the field. Don't you love this picture? Imagine this guy walking in the field. Maybe it's a shortcut. Stumbles on a treasure worth more than anything he could ever have in his entire life, more than he could ever hope to earn. He looks around. Nobody saw. He puts it back, goes into town, sells everything he has to buy that field. His friends think he's crazy. You're selling off everything for that worthless field? He tells them, I got a hunch. You smile at yourself as they all shake their heads thinking you're crazy. But you know you are gaining so much because the treasure you found in the field. Second story, same thing. A guy finds a pearl. Now to them, pearls were the end all. They were the most extravagant, the most perfect. When Jesus talked about putting pearls before swine. Swine is pigs. Into the Jewish mind, that's the bottom of the barrel. The ultimate differences. When John thought, I can't describe the gates of heaven. I can't describe the entranceway. How do you describe it? The most perfect thing I can think of, the pearly gates. To them, pearls were the absolute. So Jesus tells the story. This guy finds a perfect pearl. The crowd went, ooh. Sells everything to get his hands on that. He says, abandon everything for the kingdom. Live in abandonment because I am more than you can imagine. You have found something so much more than anything you can imagine. I am worth all that. That's the gospel. That's kingdom. And remember, kingdom is living my life in such a way that God received glory. Living my life and every day of my life that God received glory. I am living kingdom. So now you can sing the song, Count Your Blessings, name them one by one, even if you live in a tin hut in Haiti. Which brings us to the critical question, doesn't it? Do you really believe he is worth abandoning everything? Even though we are sucked into the American dream, you can't help it. Is Jesus that good? Is he that satisfying? Is he that rewarding? Can I abandon all to live radically for him? Or is the American dream my dominant passion? Leaving me perpetually fragile, looking for more for me in my spiritual walk. All right, more good news. This is not an easy journey. God wants to help you in this journey. And we have this great promise all the way back at the very beginning of Jesus coming to earth. The birth of Jesus, Matthew chapter 1, verse 23. The virgin will be with child and give birth to a son, and they will call him Emmanuel, which means God with us. Come to find out, the God we worship has emotions. He has love. He has chosen to pour out his love on us. Adam and Eve sin and turn from him. He looks for a people that will follow him where he might dwell. He wants to be close to those that he loves, less like we do. He finds a man named Abram who will become Abraham, who's willing to walk with him. Abraham abandons everything for this love. And out of Abraham's descendants establishes a nation of chosen people where God will dwell. He wants to be the center point of their lives, center point of our lives, kingdom. That's why he said, I am Emmanuel, God with us. God with us. How powerful. He wants to be a part of our every single day, closer than anyone has ever been. And you are never again fragile. And when we begin to put this all together, in the light of his greatness, we stand back in awe of thanksgiving. And we'll abandon the periphery of the American dream. Because your life is a story. I think I'm inviting you to a new story. Abandonment. The discipleship experience of abandoning myself, abandoning everything for the power of the cross. Discipleship. Thus saith the Lord. Let's stand together this morning, please.